This is Return of the Living Dead, Part 2, on our 31 spooky movies of Halloween. Set sometime after Return of the Living Dead, the army once again messes up and loses a barrel of pickled zombies that some meddling kids get into and unleash another undead uprising on their small suburban town. Also, James Karen and Tom Matthews are back for, I don't know, some reason. Real talk here, and I don't know, maybe this is a controversial opinion. I think The Return of the Living Dead is one of the best zombie movies ever made. I don't care that it was a horror comedy that shanghaied the term living dead to ride off of George Romero's coattails. The movie is a classic with some of the best looking zombies that has ever appeared in motion picture history, capped off by the fact that The Return of the Living Dead made the dead terrifying again by having them run. I'm gonna be honest, if there's a zombie apocalypse and the zombies run, I'm not even gonna bother to survive. I'm just gonna take a seat and let nature take its course. The sequel, aptly titled The Return of the Living Dead, Part 2, takes the humor element and doubles it by reducing horror by 42.4%. You can believe those numbers because of science, and you saw it on YouTube. It is, to be frank, a trade-off. You can be a little funny and a little scary, but it's impossible to be a lot funny and a lot scary at the same time. Return of the Living Dead Part 2 wanted to be a lot funny, but that meant they gave up a lot of its horror. I'm not complaining though, because as I said, Return of the Living Dead was a movie that found a perfect Thanos balance between humor and horror, and to think that a sequel was going to capture that again is just plain foolish. What we have, though, is a sequel that, while inferior, captures the spirit of the original and makes a name for itself in doing so. Granted, some of the humor in this movie is pretty cringy and lacks a lot of the nuance and subtlety of the first film, but Part 2 gleefully goes for being a full-on zombie comedy and becomes so darn goofy and stupid that you can't help but enjoy the ride. I also appreciate how Return of the Living Dead Part 2 differentiates itself from the usual zombie siege movie by having the characters fully mobile for a big part of the movie. You've also got to love how both Return of the Living Dead movies inject so much personality and, if you'll pardon the pun, life into their zombie characters. Not just because they wisecrack in this movie or make fun of Michael Jackson's Thriller, and yes, they totally do, but they take care to make them all visually distinctive and memorable. The downside is that Return of the Living Dead Part 2 loses a lot of its edge by changing the setting to the suburbs. Gone are the 80s punks, and in their place are townies and boring nuclear families. This makes Return of the Living Dead Part 2 quite toothless in many regards, and almost makes it look like they wanted to be a family picture, which is weird. Very weird. I know this movie is hated, both by fans and stars of the first movie and stars of the second movie. I'm looking at you, Tom Matthews. And that's fine. That's fine. They're wrong, but it's fine. In my opinion, Return of the Living Dead Part 2's only cinematic crime is being the sequel to what is arguably a perfect zombie movie, and being a lot less perfect. Let's be honest though. Return of the Living Dead Part 2 is a perfectly adequate movie. It's funny, it's goofy, it's enjoyable, and it is a perfect addition to your 31 spooky movies of Halloween.